What's going on, everybody? It's Jay, and before we start today's episode, I need to tell you about my sponsor, W Energy. Now, what is W Energy? I'm going to let you know because I myself am now a user of W Energy. It is clean energy. That's right. It's not like your normal canned trash energy drinks that I have been addicted to. I've been looking for a reason to drop all my old energy drinks that were unhealthy for me. Too much additives, too much trash in it, too much stuff that's going to make you crash, make you fall asleep at the end of the day. Not W. So how can you get your hands on some W to try? I'm going to tell you how. And I'm going to tell you how to save some money while you do it. Go to www.w.gg and at checkout, type in my new promo code, and it is Who Else? That's right. The promo code at www.w.gg is Who Else? Because, hey, who else but me, your boy Jay? I wouldn't steer you wrong, right? And when you do, make sure you tag your boy. Let me know you got some, you tried it, and I know you're going to love it. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of The Rose Show. As always, I'm your host, Jay, who else but me? And today I've got a great guest in store for everybody. It is Santino Marella. Ah, man, it was so cool to talk to him. And somebody that, has been around the game for a while and has done things that most people don't get to do because his personality allowed him to be different. And I was really happy to be able to talk to him. And you'll see here in a second why, because I think it was a great conversation and I know you're going to like it. But starting off, I want to say this. As most of you know, I record most of these episodes well in advance, and I typically record these intros usually Thursday or Friday the week before, so I've got it all taken care of. I don't wait till the last minute to do hardly anything, and the show is also along those lines as well. So the reason why I'm bringing this up, because as I'm recording this right now, tonight is the start of the NFL season, hence why I have my Tennessee Titans wristbands on. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because this is my first year doing this show and football season has started. And I want you to realize something, that I understand a lot of people who watch this show might not be into the NFL or football, American football, whatever you want to call it, might not be into it. And I understand that. But I have been a Titans fan since I've been in high school. The year they became the Titans, I became a football fan, hence why I am a Tennessee Titans fan. I'm going to talk about it on this show. Now, by the time this has been released, I'm sure the Titans have already beat the Bears, and they had a great showing, and if for some reason they haven't, you're going to hear about it next week. So, with that being said, I'm just warning you now, when we have these conversations to start the shows off, I'm going to be more than likely addressing it. And I hope whoever your team is, unless it's the Texans, won, unless it's the Colts, and had a great showing, unless it's the Jaguars. And I hope everybody had a great first weekend of the NFL, but I will be addressing it next week. We'll see what happens. And hopefully I'm not a pissed off row. Enough of my babbling. I am going to go ahead and get out of here and let you hear a word from our sponsors, and then we'll get into my episode with Santino Marella. All right, everybody, it's time to stop and let you know about today's sponsor of the show, Crazy Martin's in Piqua, Ohio, one of my favorite places in the entire world to go to. Crazy Martin's has provided their customers with quality products for over 20 years, from ashtrays to water pipes and everything in between. Stop in, check out their selection, and of course, check out their pinball machines. With over 20 pins to choose from, there is something for everyone. Crazy since 1996. I don't just say this about every place. I love going to Crazy Martin's. I've always loved going to Crazy Martin's ever since I was of age to go to Crazy Martin's. It's one of my favorite places in the entire world. Me and my wife go there almost every Sunday to play pinball machines. It is one of the funnest spots in Ohio you could possibly find. It is in Piqua, Ohio. Check out their website at www.crazymartins.com. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of The Rose Show. As always, I'm your host, Jay. Who else but me? And today I've got a very special guest. I've got a former WWE United States champion, a former WWE Tag Team champion, a two-time Intercontinental champion, and a surefire Hall of Famer, of my opinion. It is Santino Marella. My friend, how are we doing today?
Awesome, man. It's a beautiful day and very productive day. Just awesome, man. I can't complain. Life is good.
Awesome. Awesome to hear. Awesome to hear. Well, I kind of wanted to start all the way back to when you were a little kid. Were you always a fan of professional wrestling growing up? And if you were, who were some of the people that you watched and enjoyed watching the most?
Yeah, I guess I became a fan pretty young. My brother is 3 years older than me. So when he was, around 7, 8, I would have been like 5, 6. And, he kind of turned it on to me. And one of my first favorites was Jimmy Superfly Snuka. And then, of
Okay.
course, I was a Hulkamaniac, I'm born in 74. So, 1983, I'm 9 years old. It's like the perfect time.
Right. Yeah, sure. So back then, it was a little bit more over the top as far as obviously, in the 80s. I was born in 86, so I was like right there in the middle. A lot of the gimmicks back then were over the top. Do you think that being a fan at such a young age and seeing some of those over the top characters, obviously you said Superfly would have been one of them. Do you think that's maybe why you were so comfortable in your later roles doing some of the things that you were doing obviously after you got signed to WWE, or is it more just, was that always the way your personality was? You were always okay with, stepping outside of that box?
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of the comedy actually comes from 80s sitcoms and like Three's Company, some of the slapstick comedy. And yeah, the characters were so much larger than life, but they were easy to understand and easy to digest. And they were basic, but they were classic. And I think I often get referred to as kind of being old school or reminding people of the characters from back in that day. So obviously, it must have had some, a tremendous influence on the way I perceive characters and stuff. It's a good question.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I actually had a follow up to this that I wanted to talk about later, but since we're here, sure, why not? When I think of someone like you said, the comedy characters and stuff like that, they're always kind of looked at oddly, if that makes sense. I remember once upon a time WWE came out with a DVD set and it was almost making fun of comedy gimmicks or whatever, and that's always kind of bothered me, and I want to get your opinion on this because yeah, okay, some of the gimmicks were haha funny, and obviously some of the stuff that you did as well went along that lines, but we remember all of those gimmicks very clearly. Like I remember Doink the Clown more than the rest. I remember the goofy honky tonk man dances, your snake gimmick with the sock, even Mr. Sacco, Mick Foley. Mr. Sacco was one of the funniest gimmicks of all time, but we remember it. That sock still sells. Why do you think that some of those more comedy gimmicks are looked at not as serious as before? Because again, we remember those more than most.
Yeah, I think we remember them because of the contrast. When you have, let's say, a 2-hour show, 11 segments, and 10 of them are cool, badass, tough guys, and one is a comedy act. The comedy act just is different. It stands out. It contrasts against the rest of the characters, and also, it makes you. It's the only thing that made you laugh, and people love ultimately that they love to laugh, and I think you know, being entertained. I mean, people go watch comedy shows, and that's the sole, like form of entertainment for that particular show, right? Um, yeah, people love to laugh. People remember. It's also that people won't remember so much what you did, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And if you made them laugh, you made them happy, and they're going to remember that you
Yeah.
made them happy.
Does the industry, as far as being on the other side of the curtain, does the industry kind of frown on those kind of gimmicks, or is it just kind of like, it's another gimmick? Because I know a lot of, like, obviously the IWC, they don't take those kind of characters seriously, but again, like you said, people remember it because it made you laugh. How does the other side of the curtain view those kind of gimmicks?
It's a necessity. I mean, in every movie, every Shakespeare script, even the most serious movie has a comedic moment. And when you go eat sushi, they always give you the ginger to cleanse your palate. And you can't have back to back to back serious storylines. You need that comedic relief, and they call it relief because it's actually a relief from the tense pressure and seriousness, um,
Sure.
so that when the next serious storyline comes, you feel it again. Because if it's back to back serious storylines, the fourth serious storyline is not going to seem as serious. But if you break it
Yeah.
up with some comedy, now it can feel serious again. I always equate it to the ginger when you go for sushi. It may not be the reason you went for sushi. Like no one says let's go for ginger, but it comes with every meal, and it's an important part of the meal.
Yeah, yeah, sure. And that's a really good analogy as well. So you speaking of, different gimmicks and stuff like that, you debuted in the WWE with a really original angle, and it was something that at the time I was more into TNA, which we'll address TNA here in a little bit. I was more into TNA than I was WWE, but I still watched WWE just as much as anything else. And I remember the moment you debuted and the fact that you were just some random person that was picked out of the crowd, obviously, which we've heard that story a million times. When you were told that was how you were going to debut, did you have a specific opinion on debuting that way? Like, did you think it would hurt you just being some random person picked out of the crowd and winning that way? Or do you think it was like, oh, wow, this is an original way to debut? What was your opinion when they told you this is how we're going to present you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought it was an incredible opportunity. These opportunities don't come very often. So when they do come, you just hold on to it, do the best you can, try and knock it out of the park, and that's it. It's like you almost don't have the ability to even think of critiquing it because it's maybe your one shot ever in your life. So you just go with it.
When they presented you with your character, and obviously you don't speak with an accent like I thought you did for so many years, how did you guys come up with the presentation? Because again, debuting that way, I don't really think anybody really knew, I mean, for lack of better words, what you were, how to take you almost. How did you end up coming up with the details, and was it always you were going to present yourself in that manner?
Yeah, I mean, my family members are from Italy and they kind of speak like that. And, my entire high school is all my friends are first generation Canadians and all our parents are from different European countries. So I had tons of resources in terms of creating the accent, the persona, how he butchers the language. And it's just a mishmash of real life characters that I know like that exist. And so I had a plethora of material to choose from.
So you said that your family has some family members that speak that way. I have half of my family is Hispanic, so I can relate to Puerto Rican actually, and some of them have that thick accent. Did any of them object to you presenting yourself that way, or were they kind of understanding?
Yeah, no, everyone was cool with it. I was worried about how Italians in Italy are going to take to me being kind of like, a goofy character. But when I asked them, and because I went to Italy and I'm like, how do you guys feel about, because everyone, you don't have to dig too deep to find out I'm Canadian with Italian roots. And nobody had a problem. They're just happy that there was representation. And Italians have great senses of humor. And they were more than cool with it. So it made me more relaxed.
Yeah, sure. Sure. So during your entire run there, was there ever a moment, was there anything that you were ever uncomfortable doing? Because again, obviously we were talking about you grew up with gimmicks and that was your focus as a kid. So it would make sense that you were always comfortable with that later. Was there anything that was ever presented to you that you were just like, I don't really want to do this, that you said no to? Or was there anything that you just didn't want to do? Like, for instance, the putting on the dress and stuff like that. Was there anything that you fought back against, or were you just like, hey, I'm happy to be here?
Yeah, I never really fought back against anything. I looked at everything as a challenge, and if something was kind of ridiculous, there was stuff that I didn't think was the most brilliant, but I'd be like, all right, well, I'll do my best and I'll try and make something special out of it. And you know, generally they always turned out as being quite memorable. So I, I was pretty easy to work with. I was pretty easygoing.
Yeah, sure. I could see that, especially since we never really heard too much negative stuff about you. At least I haven't. I haven't read any interviews or anything like that. So yeah, that makes sense. Um, was out of your time being a performer in the WWE, was there anything while you were there that stuck out more than the rest that you remember? Like when you think about your time there, and it could be a match, it could be road story, whatever it might be. Was there anything when you think about your time there that really sticks out?
Well, some of my favorite stuff was the European tours. Um,
Okay,
there were two main European tours. One, after WrestleMania, and one in the fall, and they're just like 2 weeks with TV on either side. So sometimes they were like 17, 18, 20, up to 21 days straight, and different country. And I was a geography major in university, and I love going to Europe. So when I get to go to Belgium and Luxembourg and France and Italy and Spain and like these incredible tours, Poland, I mean Germany, like awesome, awesome, different city every night, and awesome cities, you know, uh, Romania, like places I probably never would have visited in my life. And I was so grateful to go. And when you're on the European tours, you don't have to drive your own car because they have a good guy bus and a bad guy bus. So, if you're driving, you can't drink. And I'm not a big drinker anyway, but on these tours, I'd always have fun and drink. And I remember my Kyoto telling me that, we don't get time off. So treat these European tours like these are group vacations, and
sure.
you go, you get work out and go sightseeing, and food is catered, and do your show, and then you go out and just explore the town, go to a pub or whatever, and they were just awesome, awesome memories. And the locker room was so cool at the time. If somebody was tired, they'd motivate them to, come on tonight, we're gonna have a great time, we're gonna go out. And I'm thankful that sometimes I was tired. I'm like, oh no, I partied 2 3 days in a row. I got to sleep, but it's not going to last forever. So I'm glad I pushed myself and squeezed in as much fun as I can.
Yeah. I got a chance to talk to Ken Anderson back in February, I
Go
think it
ahead.
was. And he said that basically when you went on those tours, you had two decisions, like you kind of just said. You either sleep or you go see shit. So that sounds pretty reminiscent. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Well, there's four options actually. You go
Okay.
sightseeing, you go sightseeing, you sleep, you work out, or you party, and you can only do two per
Yeah.
day. So based on the city, right? If you go to France, I'm going to get a little sleep and I'm going to go sightseeing. If it's a a city you've been to many times, maybe you're going to go get a workout in. Maybe you'll give up the sightseeing. If it's a crazy party city like Vienna, Austria, well, we're going to the club and we'll sleep as much as we can. And we're not going to go sightseeing and we're not going to work out. So you got to pick. You got to pick your two.
Yeah. You did what were some of your favorite sites seeing over there? Because I'm sorry for the people watching this, they know I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to stuff like this. But as far as like actual physical locations, one of the places I've always wanted to see is the Coliseum. I've never made my way over that way, but I would fucking love to, but I don't know how I'm ever gonna get there. Was there any specific sites that you actually saw that stuck out more than the rest that were just amazing?
Yeah, I had an incredible experience at the Vatican one time. It was Beth
Okay.
Phoenix and I, and we were down at the Vatican. We were just going to take some pictures outside with one of our photographers and the security guard. And this undercover police officer came up and said, "Sorry, no journalists." And we are like, "Oh no, we're not journalists. We're just." And the guy was like, "Excuse me, are you Santino Marella?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And he's like, "Oh, I'm a big fan." He was an undercover Vatican police officer. So then he took us on this incredible private tour of the Vatican, of the St. Peter's Basilica, like in the basement, on the upper levels, places where people, aren't even allowed to go. We had a private tour guide, And we were just looking at each other, me and Beth, like, holy smokes, this is like, crazy, incredible opportunity. Um, that one was amazing. Just to get to go there and get that experience in Italy, right? As Santino, and you know, being Santino, paying dividends in Rome was pretty
Right. Did you hit him with the accent?
cool. No, I was too shy when I was. If, if I speak with that kind of an accent, they would expect my Italian to be perfect, you know.
Ah, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Awesome. That's cool to hear, man. And I am slightly jealous to hear that as well. But okay, so we've gotten a chance to see in the last year or so, more than often. Actually, I guess just say the last 2 years. We've seen a glimpse of the overseas crowds, seeing some of these PLEs that WWE has done. Is the crowds that we see on TV when it comes to the European crowds, are they always as crazy as we've seen in the last couple of years, or is it kind of hyped up just because of the events that have been over there?
Oh, they're awesome, man. I went to an indie show in Ireland at like OTT, and like they're all chanting in unison, they're singing, and even the night I debuted, they're all like, oh, 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 like unison, strong. It's because of soccer, That's just the fan. It's the fan
Mm.
culture back there. If you've ever seen a Serbian basketball game, you'll you know how crazy that is too. No, the fans there are just super passionate, and I love the fact that they're having premium live events over in Europe. It's awesome. Um, Hopefully, they can educate the rest of the world on how to have a good time.
Yeah, sure. And I've said this for years because I have a background in music. And before COVID, it seemed like the American audience has been spoiled, and that goes all the way to music. That goes to any form of entertainment. American audiences, it was like pulling teeth to get them to buy tickets to almost anything. And I really feel like all these overseas events are popping off, and I don't think the American audience, no matter what form of entertainment is, quite understands like you better start getting with the program when it comes to some of this stuff, because a lot of these people overseas, even going up north to Canada or Mexico, whatever, different countries want this product. So it doesn't matter what the product is, they want it. And that's why you see a lot of festivals going overseas now. American audience better get with it. So you're right. I hope they'll start showing some of these people, you need to be more appreciative of some of this stuff and have fun. Quit being so damn uptight. Because again, like you said, they go crazy because that's the environment. Soccer shows. You made a perfect example there. Football, whatever you want to call it. That's the way the crowds are. So yeah, that's a really good point. So as I alluded to earlier, around your time of your debut, I was a huge TNA fan. Now I stopped watching more so after the rebrand and all that kind of stuff, like most people did. Um, but I was super into the product, and when they announced it, they were going back to or TNA from Impact. I was so happy because I hated the fact they changed it to begin with. But obviously, you've been around the company since that change happened. How did you end up working out a deal to go there? Because it seemed like there for a while, once you left WWE, it was almost a sure thing, you were going to go to Impact at the time or TNA or whatever. But you never did until recently. How did you end up working out a deal to go there?
Yeah, when I left WWE, my Battle Arts Academy was up and running, and I was just running my business for several years. I mean, I'd take an independent booking, maybe 4 times a year, but I was just running my business. That's it. I was just making it work. I was coaching judo. I was coaching professional wrestling. Um, just running my business, And I'm friends with Scott Demore, and he has asked me a couple
Mm.
times to come over, and it wasn't the right time. I was kind of invested in making sure my daughter gets to where she needs to be, and then COVID came, and I was kind of stuck at home a little bit, and it just timing's everything, right? And then he mentioned it again, and I'm like, you know what? Let's do it, man. And it was just the right time. I just felt it. I went with the gut feeling, and and it was great. I was kind of done being on the road and done with the business, and in terms of just yeah, I just wanted to stay home. To be honest, I was on the road for like a long time, and after you're kind of stuck home, you kind of appreciate the fact that you can go back out on the road again. And I tell you, my first year, 2023, was amazing. I fell back in love with producing television and performing, and I got to know a whole new locker room. There's a lot of guys I knew, but there's a whole bunch of awesome guys that I got to know that are just awesome brothers, and girls, and I love it. I love it, and I can't wait to go to work, and can't wait to come home because I got little ones at home too, and I have the greatest balance, work personal life balance that I've ever had in my life. So I'm just in a happy place at 50 years old.
Yeah, sure. And this is probably, and I don't think a lot of people realize this quite yet, this is probably one of the most stacked rosters that TNA has ever had, dating all the way back to the original. There's a lot of people. There's this photo that floats around from 2004 TNA, and it's like the who's who today, of who used to be there. Is there any, and obviously all the talent there right now is top notch. Is there any stars more than others? Is there any wrestler in particular that you look at in that organization where you go, you know what, in 10 years from now, we are going to be talking about this person as one of the top stars in wrestling?
Oh man, I mean, obviously Joe Hendry is blowing up. Uh,
Mm,
Josh Alexander is awesome. Like he's just every match just feels like you're watching something special. We have one of the greatest big man athletes in the entire business in Moose.
yes.
The Rascals will blow your freaking mind every single time. Um, Ace and Bay, like it's just so smooth, man. I mean, there are so many good guys, and then we got legends like Kazarian, Young. It's just stacked. I'm sure I'm forgetting people, but obviously now with Nick Nemeth there, and Nick Nemeth, it's a crazy thing because he's such a good athlete and such a good wrestler that we wrestled with WWE for like 20 years, and it was never even the perfect fit. And now that
Right.
he's at a point in his life where he can do what he wants and wrestle how he wants, doesn't have to take any orders from anybody. He's here and he's like having some of the best matches I've ever seen him have in his life. And it's
Yes.
because the leash is taken off and he can just do what he wants. And he can now paint his picture of what he wants or he envisioned himself doing. And man, the locker room is awesome. I absolutely love it there. Jonathan Gresham, one of my favorite wrestlers today, like awesome, creative, athletic, like. And then you look at the female locker room is stacked as well.
Yeah, sure. And you just listed off like 4 or 5 guys I just saw for the first time ever. I live in Dayton, Ohio. And there's an organization here called Wrestling Revolver, for
Yeah,
those who don't know. And they just had a show 2 weeks ago, and that was my first time ever going to one of these events. And Ace Austin, first time ever seeing him,
sick.
blew the roof off. Josh Alexander and Mike Bailey had no.
Oh, Mike
I'm not.
Bailey. Oh God.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude, so like you said, there's too many to mention. But those two, and they're not paying me to say this. They're not sponsored on the show, nothing like that. Mike Bailey and Josh Alexander had one of the best matches I've ever seen in my life, and I've been since I was 4 years old. Go find them on online. You can go follow their page and go watch that match in particular. It was incredible. I became like you said, I almost became a new fan after going to this event. Jake something was there.
yeah,
Like man, it was so many guys on that roster. I'm telling you, if you're sleeping on TNA, you're making a mistake. And you said it yourself. And one of the things that I think, and obviously Joe Hendry, obviously that dude is blowing up all over the place. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about is because one of the cool things that's going on in TNA these days is the fact that there is an NXT TNA crossover, and it has gotten, I think NXT has needed a shot in the arm for a while. And I think this crossover has really helped with that. What do you think as far as other promotions? Because obviously TNA has been working with promotions for a long time. This isn't anything new. How would you stack the NXT TNA crossover against other cross promotions that have happened in the past? Because again, it's been happening for over a decade now. Do you think that this is something that has been more positive than ever before, or how do you view it?
Yeah, people love to see worlds colliding. They love to see how people from different companies will stack up. Imagine Marvel and DC did, Batman versus Wolverine or something. It would be like the biggest movie of all time. You know what I mean? Um, People love seeing people in different elements, and both companies are benefiting from it. And
Yes.
I hope it's. I'm looking for. I go to work next week, and my daughter is going to be there, hopefully, and I'm going to get to work with my daughter on television for the first time. So I'm. It's going to be special for me. I'm looking forward to it. But both companies are definitely benefiting, and I hope they keep it going for quite some time.
Yeah, me as well. Me as well. And you keep mentioning your daughter. Your daughter is Ariana Grace, who herself is going. Do you feel like she's following in your path as far as the quote unquote comedy gimmick? Because that gimmick itself, I think, does definitely has that element to it as well.
Yeah, she's funny naturally, but the plan is not really for her to kind of go in that direction. We want her to be a championship contender rather than the comedy thing, because she's big and strong enough. Like I wasn't one of the bigger wrestlers, but she's one of the bigger girls. She's 5'8". She's very strong. She's athletic, and yeah, she has what it takes to be the women's champion.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree. Well, as we wind down here, I always let anybody that's in the industry know. Thank you very much. We all fans appreciate it, even if you don't hear it. What you guys do and have done to your bodies, because obviously we know the physical toll it takes on you, and you do it for our entertainment. So first and foremost, thank you very much for that. It's something that I don't think is said to you guys enough, how much we, the fans, appreciate what you guys put yourselves through. As you said, the time being away from your family, all the sacrifices you've made. So if nobody's told you today, I will tell you here. Thank you very much for that. It is much appreciated. And I always give the last couple of minutes to my guests. The floor is yours, my man.
Yeah, no, I'm a big advocate of self improvement and eating healthy and getting in the gym and just presenting the best version of yourself so that you can have the best quality of life possible. And no one's gonna push you. You got to push yourself. And tomorrow's a new day to start doing the right thing for yourself. And you can't pour from your cup if your cup's empty. So you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Well, thank you very much for your time today, my man. It is much appreciated, and hope to talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.